Today we are looking at the meaning behind the song Champagne Problems. This is Taylor Swift's second track on her 9th studio album Evermore. And it's also the second most played song on the album, at least on Spotify. This was one of the 3 tracks on Evermore that were also co-written by William Bowery, aka Joe Alwyn, aka Taylor Swift's other half. It debuted at number 21 on Billboard Hot 100, number 3 on Billboard Hot Rock and Alternative Songs, and number 7 on the Rolling Stone Top 100. So first, let's start with what does champagne problems means. And essentially this is just the equivalent to saying first world problems. But what is the story behind it in the context of the song? Long story short, it was a bad time. No wait, that's another song. Long story short, in essence the song tells a story about a troubled girlfriend who turns down her lover's marriage proposal. The song takes the point of view of the girlfriend who's reflecting upon the situation in retrospect. And the song also deals with mental health issues coming from the point of view of our narrator. So let's break it down sentence by sentence to get more into the actual story. The song starts with Taylor painting this picture of the boyfriend traveling on a night train right after everything that we're about to unfold has happened. He's feeling broken down, defeated, so he just wants to sit there and be hurt. She also emphasizes on the strange choices that we need to make when we're upset. Is a busier train better than a silent one where you're alone with your thoughts, or do you want to just avoid your own thoughts at all costs and better go on a train where you're going to bump into people, overhear conversations, have people looking at you if you're crying, all things that are part of an aftermath that sometimes we don't think about but can be really painful and difficult to deal with. In the next segment, we are introduced to the entire situation that happened before this train ride. So we have this picture of the guy ready to propose. He has his mother's ring in his pocket, which essentially just symbolizes that it's an heirloom, which is what a lot of families do, passing down generation through generation, somebody's ring, like the grandmother's ring, the mother's ring, etc. She describes his heart as glass and saying that she dropped it. So even if you didn't read the rest of the lyrics of the song from this, you should already kind of gather that this was a failed marriage proposal. And she describes him as glass and that she dropped it. So almost implying that he was really fragile, but also that she didn't have the strength to hold on to him. In the next segment, she says, "You told your family for a reason." Meaning that he was practically dead sure that she was gonna say yes. This is the second time that she reiterates that he really thinks about everything that he does. Because as we have seen in the first sentence, she says, "You booked the night train for a reason." So we learn about him that he's always making choices based on a lot of thought. So he told his whole family he was ready to propose. His sister went out and spent a lot of money on a bottle, but it has gone to waste because unfortunately it won't be used to be celebrating anything anytime soon. And this is kind of where it's established that this is actually all happening in public. Where she says no crowd of friends to applaud means that he was maybe expecting that he was going to propose in the middle of this party. All the friends were going to be happy for them. There was going to be applause. But unfortunately, it was just left in an awkward moment of her walking away and saying no. In the next segment, she says, "You had a speech, you're speechless." So before proposing, probably he gave her some sort of speech or had planned to do an after proposal speech for all their friends and family, but she left him speechless. So this is both physically and metaphorically. So he goes without saying his speech that he planned for after the proposal, but he also probably is left without words because he was so sure that she was going to say yes. And what's even more painful is that she couldn't give him a reason as to why she said no. Now for the next part, I actually had to Google what Midas touch was. And essentially it's the ability to make money out of anything that anyone undertakes. So essentially she's symbolizing that either he's very lucky or she's just trying to describe him as being quite a perfect person, that everything he does goes well. November flush and your flannel, I can't say this for some reason without stuttering. November flush and your flannel cure. November flush and your flannel cure suggests that he's always there for her, looking out for her when she's cold, when she's blue. He always comes with a solution. Next line is where it gets really interesting because she starts addressing her own mental health issues. So she's saying how someone in a passing conversation mentions this dorm was once a madhouse, and she makes a joke saying, "Well, it's made for me." So she's basically saying that she's crazy. But what's interesting is that this is just a conversation that's not related to that. She's making jokes about it, which people think could be a defense mechanism, that she wants to make the joke before someone else gets the chance to, or she's so caught up in her head of how people view her or her own mental state that she's gotta make jokes about it, and that's her way to cope. The reference to her group of friends being evergreen could symbolize that even after all of this, their friends are gonna be fine. When she goes on to say, "Don't think we'll say that word again," when she says, "Don't think we'll say that word again," I think she's saying it actually in reference to our group of friends, because there is no longer an our group of friends. There is no their group. They're separate entities now, and they're going their separate ways. And soon they'll have the nerve to deck the halls. I think Christmas is coming up and she's just saying how for them life is gonna go on happily without them. I don't know if she's assuming that they're gonna take his side, but essentially she knows that it's not gonna be how it used to be. In the next part, we start off with a reference to a nursery rhyme. This nursery rhyme has been around for a really long time. I personally didn't know it, so I had to Google about it. But essentially it goes 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, and 4 to go. And this was a rhyme used before starting races. So what she does is just a play on the words of that nursery rhyme. So exactly the same, 1 for the money, 2 for the show, but then she goes on to say, I never was ready, so I watched you go. So she wasn't ready to be married to him, so she decided that she just needed to let him go. Then we have this really powerful line where she says, sometimes you just don't know until someone's on their knees and asks you. So it could be that she was also thinking that she was gonna marry him one day, but then when he asked, in the moment when he was on one knee, she realized like, wait, this is not what I want. And in the next part, she imagines what people are gonna be saying to now her ex-boyfriend. Something interesting that I read that people were pointing out is that this is actually being narrated from her point of view, and we don't know if these are the things people were actually saying or if this is just what she imagines, which kind of plays more towards the mental health part of it. So she assumes that they would say, oh, she would have made a lovely bride, but what a shame that she's fucked in the head. Similarly to how she made that joke about the madhouse and her saying, well, it's made for me. So maybe she imagines, because of her own insecurities or her own thoughts on herself, she imagines that people will weaponize her mental illness and use that as an excuse for her not wanting to marry him. Of course, it could be that this is actually what people are saying, but I think it goes more in line with the parallel between her making that joke and then her assuming people are going to think this about her. Then she goes on and gives him some more reassurance, saying that you'll find the real thing instead. So he's going to be fine without her. He will meet someone else who will patch up the tapestry that she tore apart. Now the song comes to a close with some parallel lines that we have already heard, but in a different light, from a different perspective, in a brighter future for the ex-boyfriend. She reassures him he's gonna meet somebody new who will hold his hand while dancing, so not like how she dropped his hand while dancing, who will never leave him standing the way that she left him standing. He'll still get to pass on his mother's ring. He will replace the picture in his wallet with the picture of someone new, and with all this, he won't even remember all of her champagne problems. What's interesting is that she says specifically that it's her champagne problems at the end of the song. You won't remember all my champagne problems. Again, this could be playing on that mental health issue that we talked about, because she is putting it on herself. Because she could have said, you won't remember all our champagne problems, but she's saying my champagne problems, which means she's again putting the blame on herself. And I think that really goes line in line with the entire mental health topic. Very powerful song, and of course Taylor is an amazing storyteller and songwriter. And that's pretty much it for my analysis of the song. If you think that I missed anything or any particular lyrics that you find interesting, that you have a different angle on, let me know in the comments, because I love to discuss this stuff. And if you enjoy more song meaning videos, I have a few up on my channel right now and have more coming up soon. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I really hope to see you in my next video. Bye!